And good morning to you. It's 47 minutes after the 9 o'clock hour on this Wednesday. Hope you guys are doing well. Wave meteorologist Brian Good. Always have to remind myself which day of the week is. Yeah, December is moving on real fast. Before you know it, 20 days until Christmas Eve. So it's technically 20 more shopping days left. I hope you're caught up and ready to go. All right, the weather, obviously, is why I'm here. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Good. Welcome to SnowTALK. As always, you can comment on our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, as well as YouTube. We're all available. And I love that our audience on YouTube continues to grow more and more. So make sure to share with your friends on the YouTube channel because it will have that notification when we're live. So does Twitch. If you know any gaming friends that are always into playing games, well, they'll be notified too of the blog updates. So we try to reach everybody in every generation that we can. All right. So several things to track. Obviously, the most impactful will likely be in the next 24 hours as we have an Arctic front that is heading our way. And then we'll switch the narrative a bit as we head into next week. In fact, we'll switch it up quite a bit the way it's starting to trend there. So we'll get to some of your questions here coming up in a few moments. First off, though, as always, let's get right into the snowboard. And at the moment, not anything major showing up. All right, we got the snow shower chance for late tonight, early tomorrow. It will be brief and very much a quick hitting scenario. It's just going to arrive in a different way than the other batches of snow showers we've had. All right, this one's going to arrive with a lot of wind, which means the flakes themselves will have a tough time heading straight down. They'll be going sideways because of the wind. And some of this will begin as light rain, then go into snow, and then just blowing around over the place, and it's over. And this all will happen in a very short amount of time. And then as we get into next week, still watching for a setup potential to watch as we get into the end of next week, especially, or the middle portion of it. I'll explain why that's the case in just a second. All right, right now we got our lovely wind vane ready to go there into New Albany. The flags are blowing, hanging on tight, best they can. And they are facing camera right or monitor right, or however you word that. I wasn't a stage person. Anyway, you get the idea. It's blowing from a southwest direction, and the flag is flowing toward my head. That's a cold wind. If it's blowing away from my head on this particular camera view, it's a warming wind. And that's important because we've been cold, obviously, the past several days. Now, for the first time, we're getting a strong push of warm air that is moving into wave country, and that is going to make a difference. So we're already above freezing in Louisville at 36 degrees, 36 in Jeffersonville. Only a couple spots still hugging around 30, and I haven't seen any reports of icing issues from any of that drizzle we had this morning. Like, there wasn't much drizzle to begin with, but it looked like it was a very minor overrunning type of scenario, which is good. Sometimes those scenarios are the big ones, are more of a headache. Those are the one you'll know if it's going to be a big one or not, because that is the big headline of any forecast is an overrunning scenario with heavy rain being involved. This one, it was just sprinkles, so it's kind of iffy. Nothing to worry about. Anyway, old news now. Let's move on. So the clouds continue to race on by. You still see a couple blips on the radar. Don't worry about that. There's not anything to worry about there. Still some clouds in central Kentucky. We're going to see this thin out a bit, but the flow is nearly a strong west to east flow. So these clouds will kind of remain in a horizontal fashion in your area. You may get a few gaps every once in a while. So some of you will not get into a perfectly blue sky setup, but it'll be a better looking sky than we've had as of late. Here's a wider view, and you really don't see much happening yet. The Arctic front is just north of this image, a little closer to the banner where it says right now. That's where the Arctic front is. But the biggest issue for the wind today is we have a strong high pressure south of this map, a little closer to Atlanta. And then we got this Arctic front to the north. And what it's doing is a squeeze play right into the Ohio Valley of strong winds and in the Great Lakes as well, which is going to help feed that lake effect snow once again in that area. But strong wind belt, because the pressure difference between the two is just great enough that the air has to compromise. It has to move somehow. It's kind of like always related to, you know, when Han Solo and Princess Leia and Chewie were all into the trash dump in Star Wars, and the walls were coming in, and he was radioing 3PO to say shut up, or R2D2 to say shut it off, and it was taking a long time. Well, it's the same thing here. We've got two walls coming in like in a trash compactor, and you're feeling the pressure on it. The air has to go somewhere, so it begins to move rapidly out of the way. That's probably the weirdest analogy I've ever had to give for weather. But hey, I'm a Star Wars fanatic. You guys get that. But that's what will be happening until we see a front move through, which will be, again, the cold front to the north later on tonight. All right, as far as wind alerts that are out, there are several across the Midwest. They do stretch all the way down to just north of Wave Country, just north of Brown County, Indiana. That's where the wind advisories kick in. And then you've got a high wind warning out for portions of the Appalachians just because of elevation. Very strong winds. I think they may even get a blizzard warning, too, out of that because of the strong wind and the snow combination and visibility. So kind of a mess there in the mountains, but not here. That's a mountains issue we're talking about. I don't see us going under a wind advisor right now for Louisville just because we have to have frequent gusts that would get over the 40-mile-per-hour range and sustained closer to the 25 to 30. That's going to be a little tougher to reach that criteria all day. I think it's going to be very much off and on, but still windy regardless. Here are the current gusts: 25 in Louisville, 30 as you head toward around Fort Wayne, the Kokomo area, and about 24 into Chicagoland at the moment. But all these numbers will be going up as we get the sun a little bit higher in the sky, creates more of a mixing, and you end up with a lot of strong winds that could easily, again, get over 40 miles per hour. So here's how it looks on the clouds and precipitation side. Again, that blue line is the freezing line. So you see, as we head through this morning, the freezing line has been pushed way out of the area, so we're fine there. Just windy. Hang on tight. Hope your holiday decor is in good shape. Your inflatables, most people have their inflatables shut off during the day, but do power back up this evening. Tonight may be one of those nights you may just want to leave them off. That way you don't have to worry about them being torn up or getting unhooked from their little hooks in the ground or anything like that. So just kind of a heads up on that because it'll stay windy all night tonight as well. No rain to worry about for this afternoon or anything like that. Decent weather if it went for the wind, because even though we're going to be in the 40s, it won't feel like it. The wind's going to be so strong it'll feel like the 30s. I would say 35 to 38 for much of the day. Here comes the fronts just after the 11 o'clock news tonight. It should be showing up on the radar. I still think because of how warm we're getting today, we could even hit 50 degrees, to be honest with you. I mean, these warm surges like this do tend to overperform. So it's a pretty good chance this is going to start as a light rain on these bands. But as the Arctic air catches up to the boundary itself, that's when we'll see these snow bursts, snow showers begin to break out. This is really not a situation where it's not as important if it's going to be rain or if it's going to be snow. It's important about moisture at all. Any kind of moisture, it has to be watched because we are going to rapidly drop here tonight. And right now, your higher moisture content is certainly going to be in Northeast Kentucky, into Ohio and Pennsylvania. Once you get into Indiana and really the core here of Wave Country, especially along and north of I-64, we have some moisture around, but not a ton. So that's why we're only going with just slick spots, not widespread slick roads or hazardous driving for all areas tonight. We're not using that terminology because we're not going to get a lot of moisture. Some of you won't even see a single thing fall out of the sky for a couple of reasons. One, it'll be sparse, and two, you'll likely be asleep when this is moving in. Just be aware, though, if you were to get caught, especially in southeast Indiana and up 71 and even east on 64, and some of that moisture can go on the roads, it could create some slick spots. Now, wind in these scenarios can be our friend and can help dry the roads out rapidly to prevent issues, but it can also allow for poor visibility when the snow showers are coming down. It'll look like a snow globe in front of your headlights there, so just take it slow. All right, the cold front will be moving in. We start to be passing the freezing mark by the time we get into just after midnight. A rapid drop into the teens and 20s by the time we wake up early tomorrow. Still, some snow showers and flurries may still be flying around, but that strong wind will still be at play. And then slowly, we'll begin to relax that wind throughout the day on Thursday, but we're in the deep freeze. If we don't get above 27 degrees in Louisville tomorrow for a high, it would be a potential record for the coldest afternoon high like that on this date. So there's like some sort of a record that could be involved in this. But more importantly, sunshine is back tomorrow. Cold sunshine, but yeah, at least it'll be sunny once again. And then we'll get some higher clouds back in the area in a very scattered fashion as we evolve through the weekend. And it's worth mentioning Friday morning could be colder outside than what tomorrow morning will be, but without much in the way of wind. So 16 degrees is going to feel a little different than say 19 or 20 will tomorrow morning because of the wind that'll be outside. Okay. So as we evolve into the wind speeds, first off on the snow side, let me cover that real quick. Here is the Euro ensembles on the snow potential with this wave. Nothing is showing up whatsoever. We have not even a single member. So I'm not worried about that. But notice there is a signal that is showing up next week. Not quite filled in, a little bit lopsided too. So it's still varying on when. Timing's an issue, and it's got a lot of gaps to fill in. So on the snow side of things, there's nothing alarming coming our way right now in the outlook. In fact, snowfall potential in general with tonight's little backlash snow showers coming in from the Arctic. We'll be fair and give Southern Indiana a good credit for being in the zone for that. And then areas east of Louisville, same storyline. Louisville could get one or two snow showers, but it would be just that one or two of them. No doubt the wind is going to be the bigger ordeal. In fact, those winds today, gusting already up to 28 miles per hour. We may see gusts at times around 40. Maybe a slight relaxation near sunset, but as we head into the overnight, when the Arctic front drops in, that is when the gusts could easily get up to the highest point they've been for the whole event, which would push us at 40 or even a touch higher as we head into the overnight. So it's that concern with the strong wind arriving in the morning. It's going to send these wind chills down tomorrow morning. These are the numbers you need to plan for and dress for tomorrow morning. No, it's not anything record breaking, but for this early in December, there's not a lot of records of this happening this early in the season. Some of the records we're able to find for the first week of December to have these kind of values goes back to 2008, 2010 on average. So it's been a while. We just don't get this often early in December. Usually it's in the core of winter or in February that we get wind chills down to this level. So again, nothing record breaking, but it will be a shock to the system. So just make sure you're ready. Your car is ready. Make sure you check your car battery, your tire pressure, that kind of stuff, and cover the ears. Frostbite isn't too brutal right away in this scenario, but the average with this kind of cold is about 30 minutes. So for those that have to be outside working all day, especially early in the day tomorrow, make sure you cover all your exposed skin up because, again, roughly about 30 minutes, you could start to develop some frostbite. So make sure to protect yourself. And that's why we have the alert day out as a cautionary, guys, because it's an unusual setup, a little bit out of its norm of when you would normally expect that. And we'll make sure you guys are prepared for it. And then we'll get on past it and move on to what is coming our way next. Any questions? Well, good. I'm glad everybody likes Star Wars. Hey, I think you guys can handle Star Wars analogies better than anybody. I feel like I know you all. All right. Sorry, I got a lot of spammers today. It's that time of year. Let's see. I think I saw a question on school somewhere, didn't I? Nancy, schools in Louisville talking about closing tomorrow. I have yet to hear about any school closing tomorrow. I'm not sure why any school would close, but it's their discretion. I don't roll that. I could tell you that we may have colder days that'll be much more brutal than this coming our way with when we get cold weather alerts that are issued. This is not to an alert threshold on the cold weather side from the Weather Service, but it's a step or two above it. But I think it's very manageable out there. Just take care of your kids. Make sure to stay warm. That's the key thing on it. But school decisions, we have no issue with that as far as communication with them. That is their call on that one. Sorry, kids. If I had that power, can you imagine what we do with that power? No, I don't want to think about it. I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that at all. Let's see. Family Guy of Star Wars. Oh, you're talking about, is it Blue Moon? Is that right? I think Blue Moon is the name of the Family Guy Star Wars. Okay. Everyone looks good. Let's go ahead and get right into the outlook then for next week. I want to cover that in a little more detail because this is where it's a different storyline for us because I think Saturday looks good. Sunday, we may have to sacrifice to the weather gods for a more overcast setup and maybe some light rain that'll be surging in late Sunday into Monday. This looks to be a steady rain type of scenario, by the way. There are hints of some thunder that may develop. Even a very low end severe risk was trying to develop on the AI modules near the Tennessee border, a little closer to that down in Tennessee. So this may have a little bit of a thunder action to it, but severe parameters on this, it's missing a lot on that idea. So I'm not worried about severe weather, but I do think we could get maybe a rumble of thunder out of this. Yeah, absolutely, it's possible. But a good slug of rain, and it's certainly in southern Kentucky, I think you may carry some of the higher rain totals than the rest of us will be. But right now, late Sunday to Monday looks to be a widespread rain and some potential here to go over 1 inch on rainfall. So that will take care of, wash away any of the salt residue on the roads. This will do it. But it's really what's happening after that is where things get complex again. This is the lead wave that will move on by. You see the cold air waiting in behind it. That's another piece of energy that's going to drop down. Now, the models struggle and diverge right here. They all have different opinion of how to handle Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And the issue, from what I can gather so far, is that the lead wave comes on by without rain Sunday and Monday. They're pretty solid on that. But there is a second piece, and the Euro likes to take that second piece, quickly wraps it into the core of the main low, allowing for a much bigger dig of a trough into the Ohio Valley, maybe some flurries, but just cold for the middle of the week. The Canadian model takes the energy down, tries to then bring it up out of Texas and develops into a low that tracks across Huntsville, Alabama, and to the northeast. Boy, I tell you, that is a good track to get a wintry mess on the northwest side of it, and that would be perhaps into our zone. GFS, a little more aggressive with that wave on that second piece, but goes so far south that it just misses us altogether and goes up the eastern seaboard, which is a known bias of the GFS to go too far south with troughs like that. So there's not a lot of agreement on that second piece that comes into play. That is going to be the driver, though, of how next week will play out. If the Euro's right, other than a drop in temperature, not much to talk about there, guys. It's a slug of rain and then chilly air, but not much in the way of precipitation. If the Canadian is right and it lags a bit and then tries to roll out, it could become a little more exciting for us into the Ohio Valley. The data is just all over the place. So confidence is too low to go with any one scenario for now. So what we're doing in our forecast, we're just going to be trending for a round of rain. We'll have a drop in temperature. We'll keep low chances in precipitation. And then let's leave this in the oven just a little bit longer and see what happens as we head into the next few days. We should start to get a little better agreement on it, but right now it's not there. And the Euro continues with trying to bring back some warmer air back into the area, which makes sense because the Pacific does want to try to relax. Okay, that's an old map, but I'm going to show you all that. There we go. The cold air is still up there into the polar areas, but there's no cross polar flow anymore. And, you want that purple to really kind of show up all the way over to Siberia, basically, to try to allow for us to get the cold air to dive back down again like it has as of late. If you want that, and snow lovers, I think, do. But we don't have that. We lose the cross-polar flow, which means the Pacific then tries to take charge of what's going on and tries to flood us with more warm air events coming into play. So that looks to be the game plan, at least through mid-December, would be that game plan. But will that hold? Will we start to see this shift again? There's some data even looking into the stratosphere. I was looking at some of the data on that today, and it after the 20th of December, it really does want to try to get back to that cold air attack idea. But I can't show you maps on it because there's not a lot of support for it. But the pattern, again, wants to go back that way. And that would be perfect for the holidays. We'll see. All right, let's get you right into the 10-day. Answer any questions you may have on this windy Wednesday. Good morning. Hello there. Todd, any signs yet the New Year's will be starting off warmer? Don't know yet. Too far out, Todd. Too far out. I wish, but it's too far out. You mentioned that certain models have certain biases, but they're human-made. How come we don't adjust their models? Well, that's the thing. We can adjust sometimes placement, but as far as how they operate, that is mathematically put in by different theories on physics of the atmosphere. I don't want to get too in the weeds here, Carrie, but it's always what we call the chaos theory or the X factor when it comes to meteorology. It's very difficult to get anything exactly right, but every weather model, everyone designs weather models, teams that do this, they want to eliminate that X factor. But that way we can say it is going to rain next Wednesday at 4:35 p.m. for 4 minutes and 50 seconds. Wouldn't that be nice? They did it on Back to the Future too. Why can't we do it? Well, it's because the Earth may never allow it, just because of the X factor and the chaos theory. And I think that's why weather is always going to be a challenge. But we're getting better, at least sniffing out a lot of the patterns in advance compared to even just 5 years ago. The data has gotten better, and certainly in the past 10 years. So we're making progress, but I just don't think it's ever going to be perfect. But at least we got tools to work with, and I like that because we didn't have this kind of stuff before. We could only forecast 2 to 3 days out for a long time because of that. All right, guys. Thanks for this sleet falling there on 71. Appreciate that, Sean. All right, that's the first report I've got. We'll be watching that. I'll have more coming up on midday at 11 a.m. All right, I'll see you then, guys.